Hey everybody, I'm Matt. This is Ollie. We're back to another round of working on the boat. Uh, this round we are doing more prep work on the transom, getting it ready to install. Here we go. So with the transom mocked up in there, took the sander, tried to work a little bit of the angle down. The rear fiberglass and sides didn't match up 100%, but the aluminum trim that goes over it covers the differences. It fits over the plywood fine. So our next step is probably going to be try to get this leveled out some here, just because of the angle that the transom's at. Will be to do a little sanding filler work in these edges here to smooth things out. And then I think it'll be ready to put a router edge to round off this inside here. And then we will go ahead and get some penetrating epoxy on it. Hey everybody. So here we are getting ready to do a little bit more work. We're going to put some penetrating epoxy onto the transom wood. We gave a little bit of a try earlier, so we're going to go ahead and walk through the other side of it. Ollie, don't hit the foot. Hey, watch out. You're standing on the tripod. There you go. Okay, so we've got the total boat penetrating epoxy. We're going to go ahead and mix up. Where's my ounces? This is 2 to 1. So we're going to go 6 ounces. And we're going to go 3 ounces. Now the other thing with this boat, I'm thinking, well, that's making a mess. Stuff is thin. I'm thinking that I'm going to probably paint it orange. I know I got some ideas, but I know it's an odd color. That I'm not sure how it's going to look, but I thought I would throw a little bit of this. It's a resin dye that's compatible with epoxy, it says. I was just going to put a little bit of this in the penetrating epoxy, and we will mix it up and see how we look. Penetrating epoxy is much, much thinner than the regular, obviously. It's meant to soak into the wood, get saturated, and seal the wood up very, very good. And that always seems to be the weak spot. There's a lot of controversy, a lot of talk. What's the better thing to use with wood? I know epoxy has been used on wood for a long, long time. I know polyester, resin, and fiberglass have been used, but there's a lot of issues with it failing, or I should say not being applied properly, probably. So water gets in there. Either way, I feel safe in doing it in epoxy. Okay, as you can see, a little bit of staining around the outside. So we've already gone ahead and done the opposite side. I've got it set on a couple little bolts holding it up right now. We're just going to put a couple coats of this on. It seems to soak it in pretty good, so we will pour some out. See if we don't make a mess here. Let it soak in. And we'll start rolling. I'm sure there's 100 different ways to go about this process. I was going to fill in the holes from the screws, with some filler before we did this, and then I was thinking that if there's any open pores where it's countersunk in, the penetrating epoxy might be better off just letting that soak in there. So I ended up not putting the filler in at first. So we'll see how this all works out. Again, I'm not an expert on it. I've been trying to learn as much as I can. I think I've come up with a process that's going to work, or at least make it so I can sleep at night and not second guess what I'm doing. So we're going to go ahead and get this end green. Well, now I got an orange stain on the cement. Look at that. But yeah, I think this is going to work at sealing this wood up excellent. We will also get some fiberglass put on it, and then the whole thing will be epoxied into the boat itself. And it's going to be way stronger. The transom they had was just a wood strip, probably like a 2x10, 2x8, 2x10, something along that. Probably a 10. That was across the back, the middle back portion of the fiberglass. Fiberglass is really thin on this boat too, I think. I guess I don't have a lot to compare it to, but it just seems thin to me. It's very, very flexible. So it didn't seem like that's a whole lot for the transom to be holding the engine. So again, we'll do this. Definitely be better than it was when it was new. This end green keeps soaking the resin right in there, that's for sure. I'll use this as my mixing tray. The bottom corner of where the transom meets the hull, there was a lot of resin, a lot of I would say probably from being hand laid up when it was made, but just a lot. It's not very straight. So on the inside edge of the bottom of the transom, I took the router and 45'd it. That way I can lay a bead of thickened epoxy in there, and this will allow for some of the irregularities on the boat itself, and it'll just smush out the rest. So I think that's going to give it a pretty good bed to sit in. You can definitely see the areas that are soaking this resin up pretty fast. Got one small little partial knot hole there, just making sure that we've got enough resin to fill it, seal it, strengthen it, and all that good stuff. And like I said, there's this will be glassed over as well. I'm talking to a couple folks online. It sounds like the best process for it would be, especially with the irregularities in the boat not being super smooth, I'm going to probably put a layer of chop strand mat on the backside between the boat itself and the wood transom. Try to help level things out a little bit. And then on the other side, we're going to put a layer of chop, and then probably 1 or 2 layers of 1708. So again, it'll be plenty strong for anything we'll be using this for. Probably stronger than it needs to be, but again, I'd rather overbuild it, and I'd rather have something strong than something that is going to be flexing and causing possible issues down the road. So why not do it now, right? Yeah, you can still see a few different spots where the stuff is getting soaked in super fast. But I guess that's good. The more epoxy we can get into the wood itself, I think that'll help us out in the long run. Just looking at an angle, looking for the dry spot. Yeah, and those couple spots just keep pulling it in. What you doing, Ollie? Come here. Come here. Ollie gets to go home for a bath. He got sprayed by a skunk the other day. I'd say we got probably 90% of it, but if he gets in your face, you still got a pretty good whiff of it. So I'm going to try to get working on that tonight when we get back to the house. Still got a fair amount in the roller itself. We're empty. That was 9 ounces. Nice orange color. It was more just to see what it was going to do, but I do think I might go with an orange and white, orange and off-white color for the boat, something along those lines. Orange and cream, whatever you want to. I'm not a designer, so I don't know all the right names of the colors. To me, it's orange and white. Hey, here we are out at the barn again. Ollie's back there sniffing around. I'm going to try to get a couple more things done today. I know he's a little upset. He got a bath this morning. If you didn't hear it in the other posting, Ollie got sprayed by a skunk the other day. We had him pretty well washed up, but he still got a little bit of a scent to him. We're trying something called odor mute, which says we're supposed to dilute it in water, wash them down, let it dry for an hour, and then rinse it out of them. So that's what he's doing right now, is doing his 1 hour dry. I know we couldn't do it at home. He'd be rubbing all over the house with trying to dry his face off and stuff. So that's pretty much where the majority of the smell still is. Anyhow, for today, we're going to try to put a little bit of glass down at the very back of the boat there. At the base of the transom, we put a fillet of, we put a fillet of structural epoxy down in there. We have got a piece of glass cut for the transom, and then we have got the transom that we put the penetrating epoxy on, That's all been dried, that's been scuffed. Again, the orange color, I was, because this boat never had any paint on it, I was half thinking of being able to just put some dye in the resin and see what that would do for color for me, but not real keen on the way the orange came out, so we'll probably go back to the paint method. But needed to try it, and that gave us our answer. So first off, we're going to go ahead and get the 1708 put down. We already used the heat gun. We warmed up the wood, made sure that we've got no moisture left on or in that, even though it's been saturated with the resin. And then we also hit the 1708 with the heat gun a little bit just to make sure there's no moisture in it. So next up, we're going to go ahead and mix up some epoxy. We'll go ahead, wet this out, roll it out, and see what we get. So from what I can tell, looking at the internet, I think these pumps put out about 1.5 ounces with each pump. Also on the internet, I've been able to figure out that I think I need about 30 ounces to put that on the transom for the size it is. So let's go ahead and see what we can mix up. Little deer flies are out here. They bite, they hurt. This is going to be a slow process. And for the transom, we're using the Total Boat High Performance Structural Epoxy. It is the slow cure. Ouch, fly bit me. Slow cure because I don't do a whole lot of things fast, so this gives me time. And I know I'm going to need to mix up some more resin, so we'll get it underway, then we'll come back and mix up some more resin, and we'll try to keep working through this. What you think, Ollie? Huh? What you looking at? Lots of resin, lots of mixing. Keep scraping the sides, scraping the bottom. Trying to lift it from the bottom. So on the transom, we did put the 1708, excuse me, on the transom, we did put the penetrating epoxy on. So after that dried, went ahead and scuffed it really good with some 40 grit paper. Cleaned it all up with acetone already this morning before we hit it with the heat gun. And like I say, the 1708, we've already set it on there to trial fit it, and we warmed that up just to make sure that there was no moisture in it. That's looking pretty good, I think. So we're going to go ahead and get our brush and our roller, and let's see what we can do. Okay, so we'll start off wetting the wood out. You're okay, Bubs. I know you live a hard life, don't you? Nobody pays attention to Ollie. So the wood should not soak much of this up, really, being that it's already been saturated with the penetrating epoxy. We put about, this transom took about 18 ounces. So hopefully this will just work as a great binder to get the glass on here. And then with epoxy, everything I've read, you're best off to pre-wet the back side of the glass as well. So we're going to go ahead and do that next. And I can already tell we're going to need to go make some more resin. Definitely not enough for this. Back to the mixing table. Thought about buying one of those little mixers you put on the end of your drill. I don't know if that would be, that'd probably be easier, faster, but maybe that'll be the next purchase, as this hasn't, this is our first glass layup on this project so far, so let's see how far this gets us.
That looks like plenty. We'll get it on, we'll roll it around, see where that puts us. We got a couple cutouts that we can use for lining things up. See if we can roll this up a little bit here. Make sure we're smooth. Watch out, Ollie. Definitely see where the areas we need to add a little more. So as I said before, we'll be headed back to the mixing table. Do up a little more. And then we'll roll this stuff. With the squeegee, or the filler spreader, or whatever you want to call it, you can get quite a few of the air bubbles out. Okay, back to mixing. Back to mixing up a little more resin. This is why I use the slow cure. I know there's a lot of people out there that are good at this and fast at it. This is my first shot. Still learning a lot. What you doing, Ollie? You okay? Is your stuff drying up? Has anybody else had a issue with a dog getting sprayed by skunk? Anybody used odor mute? Just curious if anybody's had success with it or not, or if you have other home remedies. The night it happened, before we rinsed them off or anything, I know I have heard many people say that you don't want to hit water on them, so we did a combination of peroxide, Dawn dish soap, and baking soda, and it really did take out quite a bit of it. Just a little bit left in his face. Obviously, you get a bird dog, he leads with his nose, so that's what definitely got the worst of it. Got a little scent left in his face. We're going to give this stuff a try. Like I say, it says it's got to dry for about an hour, and then we will rinse them down, dry them off, and see where we lay. Okay. Let's see what we can do now. Let this saturate out in a couple of these spots. It looks dry. Looks like it's taking the resin pretty good. Old guys like me, I guess I need to get a sweatband or something. I do seem to sweat a lot out here doing this. It's humid, but I don't remember sweating this much when I was younger. Okay. Rounded off this corner with the router. Hopefully this stuff lays down pretty decent. Looking like it is so far. Let's get our fin roller. Let's roll some of this out. There's a bubble. Push it all the way to the edge. These rollers do work great. Not bad. Keep working these couple spots here. There's one of them. this side, we'll see how our rolled over piece is doing. Looking pretty good. Looking very good, I think. The extra that's hanging there, we'll just trim that once it's all dried. Same with up here. Okay. Wasn't quite sure what to expect with this, but it's laying down pretty decent. I do have one other piece cut. We might just go ahead and lay that down. We also hit this with the heat gun this morning. And of course, now we need to go mix up more resin, right? Let's give this a quick spread. It can start trying to break down and work in while we go mix up the other one. And then we'll be back to pour more on. Anybody sees anything I'm doing that could be done better or different or whatever, please put a comment down. Again, this is the first time I've done it. I've tried to watch a bit of stuff, mainly on YouTube, just trying to learn what I'm doing. And hey, that's Ollie's favorite toy, is finding a piece of plastic somewhere. What you doing, bud? I'd rather have him eat plastic than eat a toad. And he doesn't eat plastic, he doesn't chew it, he doesn't swallow it. All he wants to do is get plastic and shred it into a million pieces. He seems to be pretty happy with doing that. Right, bud? Do you feel better now? Huh? You destroyed something? Is that good? Okay, let's see where this takes us. Back to our mix, and then mix some more. What's up, Bubs? We're trying to fix up the old boat Garrett had in his garden. After he bought his house, it was funny because we didn't even realize it was a boat at first. There was so much stuff growing half buried and growing out of it, and a little bit of looking, and we thought, boat needs a better life than that, right? So I don't know how long it'd been there. The last time this was licensed on the water was, I think it was 76, 77, something like that. And then the oldest registration sticker on the boat was 68, so. Let's see what we can do here. I think we got a stray thread. It doesn't look bad, does it, Ollie? Huh? That doesn't look bad. Okay. Get our squeegee. We'll start from the center here. Stuff does move around and stretch. I know a lot of the videos I've watched have said if you've got a helper, it's great because they can mix up some resin for you while you're in between mixings. I can definitely see how that would be a help. We'll start on this end. We'll be going back for more. There's our thread. Okay. Let's get this wet so it starts soaking out. Okay. So that looks like about where as dry as we're going to get. Let's go ahead and mix up a little bit more. I know. We're going to go walk in a minute. We got to get a couple things done here. Ollie, can you mix resin for me? Huh? That'd be a pretty cool trick to teach you. That'd be a pretty cool trick. That's about as far as we got with us being wet. Let's go ahead and grab some more. I suppose it's one of those things that comes with time and experience. Trying to understand just how much resin you need. I think that's going to be enough. What's wrong, Bubs? What's the matter? Mixing stick is on the other side. And we do the mix again. What's wrong? We're going to go walk. Just hang on. We got a couple things to do here. Let's see what we can do with that, Ollie. Let's see what we can do. Stuff does soak up the resin, that's for sure. Some thick fabric. It's supposed to be some strong fabric from what I understand. I know. I know. Everybody knows. Everybody hears you. Okay. Let's let that sit for a second. We hear you, bud. We hear you. I hear you, bud. I hear you. I hear you. Wipe our handle off a little bit. Yep, I didn't get my work gloves on today. It's okay. Let's see what we can roll out now. I've also heard from people that getting the fabric wet out with epoxy is a little bit tougher than it is with polyester resin. All I've used so far is the epoxy, so we'll see when we go to the vinyl ester. This isn't horrible, or at least I don't think it's horrible. There's one, chase it right out to the side. definitely seems as though the uneven surface on the plywood, I mean, it's not perfect, right? So that definitely seems to come into play. Look at all that air right there. Bring it right to the edge. I know, I know. We're going to entertain you in a couple minutes. I know, I know. That's not looking too bad, is it, Ollie? It's got sort of a white hue to it through here, but those are definitely not air bubbles in there. And like I say, these edges will be cleaned up, sanded off once it dries. We're going to put that layer 1708 just around the bottom, between the transom and the floor. And once all that dries up, then we will, we're not real close to town. It's about a half-hour drive up to like a Home Depot or Lowe's. So the T-nuts and a few other parts that I ordered up online so I don't have to drive to town to make up the transom clamps. They seem to be taking their sweet time to get here. So as soon as those get here, this should all be dry. And then we'll go ahead and glue this into the boat. So yeah, the colored resin. Tried that the other day with the penetrating epoxy, and I wasn't sure how it would look, if that would take the place. I know these old herders, it was, I think I read on the online, the old brochure, it's like an extra $15 back in the day to get the boat painted, which would have been pretty pricey, I'm guessing. All things considered, back in '58. So I was thinking about just leaving it to resin. Now I've read different places that resin needs something for UV. So that's why I was thinking painting it. And then I thought, well, if it made it this long with nothing on that resin other than, and that was polyester resin, yeah, let's just try coloring it and see if that might be an alternative, right? I don't know. I wasn't real wild about the way that looked. So I guess I gave up on that already. We're going to go back to just using resin. And then we will paint or gel coat. I know as soon as I said that, I'm going to get people saying, well, you can't gel coat over epoxy. I know, but there's, I guess, a couple things you can use for barrier coats. I'm not the expert on it. I'm just going by what I've read. You can use as a barrier coat between the epoxy and gel coat. And then I think on Fish Pump TV, I think he had a whole episode where he was talking about, I won't be able to remember the brand name right now, but there was a company that makes an epoxy. I guess it's mainly for musical instruments and surfboards and that kind of stuff, but they say it will accept System 6 or something like that, I think it was, and that will accept gel coat. So I was half thinking of using that and then tying in with the rest of the hull using regular vinyl ester resin. Now, I know it's not as strong, and I know people will say, well, there'll be a, even using the barrier coat, you'll have a adhesion issue between the two. All I can say is this boat made it over 60 years with probably what would be considered a substandard resin from the 58s, from 58 compared to what we have today. It's, other than the couple holes, which obviously wasn't from failure, that was, I don't know what the story was, but obviously it took something to put it through. But the rest of it's, I mean, solid. So I'm thinking even if I use subpar professional standards today, which would be good for me, I'm betting it still holds up good and does what I need it to do. So we're going to give it a shot. We'll keep you up to date on what it is, what kind of witchcraft, what kind of combination we're going to try out here. But I'm thinking, and then I'm thinking paint or gel coat. I'm not sure yet. What's up, bud? But we're not going to do the colored resin. So that's looking good to me right now. Ollie says we got to take him for a walk. So we're going to take him for a walk. Then we're going to be back. We're going to go back and lay that one piece of glass into the back of the boat. I know, bud. I know. I know, it's a rough life. Ah, we're getting there. This stuff's going to end up being rolled over once it's in the boat, so I'm not too worried if we got to end up sanding some of that off. This side I should have left a little bit longer because you get it laid down and then it just wants to come back up, so we'll just let it dry and we'll sand her off. The other part of it's not looking too bad. The old router bit, round overs, worked pretty good. And I think that was a 1-inch round over bit is what I used. Whether you could use a smaller, I don't know. But hey, chill. But we're gonna do it. It seems to work pretty good for us. Okay, I think that's probably as good as I'm gonna get it with the roller. Don't really have much for white spots. We got a little bit of a haze in a couple spots. I've heard people say that could be humidity. That was one of the reasons we wanted to heat it up beforehand, was try to make sure we didn't have any humidity in it. But hey, again, we're not building anything for SpaceX. We're just getting a boat to put back on Wixom Lake here. Hey, chill. Okay, I gotta go walk the dog. I know, Ollie. I said it, but I'm not moving. I gotta go walk the dog, and then we will be back. Trying to be financially responsible here, Ollie. I'm just using this last little bit of resin. Okay. I'll see you guys in a bit. I gotta go walk the dog. He gets grumpy. Okay, we just got back from our dog walk. Ollie's over there laying down. I might have tired him out for about 2 seconds. So we're going to move on to step 2 here. We have got the back, the piece along the transom there. I've drawn a line with a marker with a Sharpie around it, so I know about where to place it once I take it out, and I put one down the crease between the floor, the hull, and the transom, so positioning it will be a little bit easier, I'm hoping. So we've already mixed up our resin. I'll wander back there. I think we're going to mainly use, and we've already heated it. Make sure we've got no moisture in there. We went in and put our fillet in there last night. Like I said, I think I'm going to use a brush on most of this. Not real big. Let's get some on the bottom here. Also washed it down with acetone. Okay, the one thing I forgot. I always forget something. So we didn't wet out the back side of the fabric. Seems to be an important thing everybody says with epoxy in 1708 because it's thick. Let's plop that down here. Again, it's slow resin, so I think we got plenty of time here. I know I could use the brush, but I do like this little roller. Seems to move resin along pretty good. We're right on the edge of the hull here on some support, so probably see the boat rocking around. Definitely see it start working its way into the cloth. I gotta somewhat laugh. Again, I'm no expert at this stuff. I'm learning, trying to learn, gathering information. I don't even know if I'm learning. But posted a question online asking about, because I know with polyester resin, it's pretty common to put down 1708, excuse me, put down some CSM before the 1708. Some people say you have to, some people say you don't. Just trying to get a feel for different people's opinions and anything that they could add with a little information as to why they go with what they go with. And I made it clear that I wasn't really trying to start a conversation of should I use polyester or should I use epoxy, because that's like asking car people what type of oil I should use, and everybody's got their opinion and everybody's got their reasoning to back it up. And hey, that's great. I don't have a problem with that, and everybody has their reasoning. And if you found something that works for you, by all means, stick with it. If you're comfortable with it, that's what matters. But yeah, like I say, it was mainly just a question. Try to get our seam put up in here. It was just a question of which layout process to use. CSM was 1708 and without. And sure enough, it had to take the turn, and everybody's trying to convince the other person of why their opinion's right. It's sort of like politics, you know. Everybody, and it's sort of sad because this day and age, everybody's more and more divided. But someone will make a statement, and you get 1,000 people online trying to, and they're stating their facts like it's going to change someone else's mind. Well, if you're on there fighting about it online, you're probably not going to change your mind one way or the other. So that's the same thing I looked at with the resin question, which is why I didn't even want to go there. Well, that's stuck in there pretty good. We're going to go mix up a little more resin, put a coat over the top of this, and roll it. But yeah, it was just a matter of should I or shouldn't I use CSM underneath this. And there was actually, I got to look his name back up. And again, I might be duped. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. But there was a guy came back with some pretty good statistical facts, I guess. And I looked a couple of them up, and they seemed to match. So I'll go with them. But just how much of a, because at this point the boat's 60-some years old, right? So you're not getting a chemical cohesion with any old resin and new resin. However, a lot of his stuff was talking about just the mechanical bond strength of epoxy compared to polyester. And that was incredible. I don't know, it was like 2,500 times more or something. I could be misquoting it, but that's what I'm remembering. Anyhow, so yeah, just for that strength difference, I guess especially what I'm doing right now, trying to work on a potentially weak spot, right, between the transom and the floor of the boat. I don't know, I guess in my mind, stronger is better. So if there's something I can do to, first off, I know I'm not going to do everything 100% right. So even in the most ideal circumstances, if epoxy is more bonding Sorry, my mind got sidetracked. If epoxy is that much stronger on the mechanical bond side of it, when I do my work, which I know is not going to be 1,000% perfect, correct. I don't vacuum bag. I don't do any of that kind of high-tech stuff. I'll take all the advantages I can get, especially in the stressful spots like, yeah, now my hands are sweaty and sticky. So, yeah, I'll just go with the epoxy in these types of spots. And we will ride it out and see what happens. Like I say, 60-year-old fiberglass boat, probably more than 60, but going on 70. The fact that it held together back in the day with whatever quality resins they had back then, and I know the polyester resins today are much better than that, and I know the epoxy resins are much better than that. So when it comes all around full circle, at least in these types of positions, I'm going to go for what seems to me as the best option to reduce the possibility of having issues. So I'm going to mix this up. Set my paintbrush down right here. Been an auto tech working on cars most of my life. I guess maybe I'm just old school, but I never got into the whole, well, we never had them at all back in the day, wearing gloves. And I know people say, well, this is chemicals and stuff. Well, yeah, it wasn't a whole lot better working with carb cleaners and brake cleaners and degreaser tanks and all the other crap that they had us working with. So, yeah, I like wearing the gloves now when I can remember to put them on. I've definitely got to get some better gloves because the ones I got keep ripping. So if anybody's got some recommendations they can leave in the comments on the type of nitro gloves that you use that don't rip or don't rip as bad. I know when I use the acetone's pretty hard on these current ones that I have. Very hard to get on and off. They seem to grip real hard, and obviously that doesn't help at all either, right? So if you've got any that you really like or prefer, by all means, please leave me a message in the comments. We're going to go ahead and brush some of this resin on. I know it looks like a lot. We can always get rid of some. We'll just be doing a lot of sanding. But dab out some of these air pockets. Work our way up the side here. So I have found a couple different, again, it's kind of the world we live in, right? With the AI and everything on the internet, but found a couple different, they look like older vintage documentation on this boat. The Herder's St. Lawrence. Glasses with your head upside down don't work. But anyhow, so one of them says 30 horsepower, one of them says 60 horsepower. 60 seems a little high to me, but who knows if we We're definitely putting a much stronger, much bigger wood transom in here. And tie it in real good. Who knows? We'll see what we do with it. I think 40 horsepower would be a pretty nice package on a boat about this size. 5 foot wide, 16, just about 16 foot long. So we're not building a speedboat or a race boat, just something to get out, do some fishing and stuff with. And not have to wait a month of Sundays to get to where you want to go. Okay, let's see if we can roll some of this. Definitely see the air coming out. We also took the structural putty in all the holes we cleaned up, so we drilled them out oversized. We countersunk the holes. I put tape on the back side here, which would be the outside of the boat, I guess. And then we filled them up with the structural putty. Again, my thinking is that once it's, this laid up really nice. Once it's dried up, we'll have glass keeping it and the transom from pushing out on the inside here. So they will be very, very strong plugs. Got some loose fuzz. That's going to be some sanding right there. But all the air is looking really good. Very clear. Very nice. A little spot right there. Got a couple different angles going on. Hard to catch it to work its way out. Ollie, what are you eating, bud? Sounds like you're chewing on something. Okay. Pretty simple. Got just a little bit extra resin here, but a little bit more right up on the top there. But hey, that's the way it works, right? Sometimes you got too much, sometimes you don't have enough. We're still learning and guessing. Dab in there a little bit more, and you see the air just sort of work its way right out. Seems to be a fine line between laying it up too wet and laying it up too dry. What's up, Bubs? We gotta go for another walk? Definitely getting my exercise in with him around. Look at that, Ollie. We worked a little bit out right there. There's a little bit more. That's looking good. That's looking good, bud. What, are you working your way in here? I'm gonna put a squeegee on your nose and you can just run that around in here. So, looks like some of this is wet. None of it looks dried, laid up though, so I think we did a really nice job on this one. I gotta go rinse this off. We're just gonna spread some of this out so we can sand it later. And with that, we're gonna let her dry and it'll be next time. Got my bucket of acetone, get the roller in here. Take the roller. Trying to pull it slow so it doesn't go flying, but get that in there.
So Ollie and I were out earlier this morning, but I forgot my camera. So just get you caught up here. We did get a couple patches. These were cracks that we ground out to be a through hole. So this would be the first one. We've patched it from both sides. We've got one layer of CSM on the inside and a layer of 1708, and then we got a layer of 1708 on the outside. There was an exterior crack here. You probably can't see it so much, but laid 1708 on that. It did not go all the way through. And then we've got another spot over here that went all the way through once we ground it out, and that again has 1708 on the outside and chop strand mat and 1708 on the inside. So that's where we're at right now. I think I'm going to probably call it for this video. We're definitely making progress. We are waiting for a couple more supplies. We will get the transom clamps finished up, and once that's done, we will get the transom glued in here. And once that's in, I'm going to start working my way down the floor. This will be the next hole that we need to grind out. See just how big we have to go to get the bad glass out. We'll get something glassed back in and keep making some progress. Hey, hanging out in the kitchen here right now, trying to get this video put together. If you've made it this far, thank you very much for sticking it out and watching what we're doing here. I really appreciate it. Please go ahead and subscribe if you haven't. You'll be able to catch the rest of these and be notified. Give me a thumbs up. Give me any comments you've got as well. Things I could do better, things that that you would do, any changes you see maybe that would be beneficial. And if you've got anybody that may be interested in this type of thing, please go ahead and share it, forward this along, and we'll see if we can get some more people follow along. So anyhow, with that, again, just wanted to say I appreciate everybody coming back for another video. We're going to be out of town on a much needed vacation. So my next update might be a little bit late, but by then we should have our parts to get the transom clamps finished up. we'll get that transom glued in and get moving forward on some more glass repair. So with that, I appreciate it, and we'll talk to you later.